Philosophy of Mind-Body Dualism by Juan Gordon. The historical backdrop to mind-body dualism. Mind-body dualism came about during the Age of Enlightenment, and is a product of its time insofar as the thought of the time was very rationalist and concerned with the workings of the mind and how to figure out how the mind worked. So it was very much a product of its time in that way. And the creator of mind-body dualism was René Descartes. René Descartes was a famous French thinker, mathematician, and Renaissance man who was a major figure in the Age of Enlightenment. He had a very keen intellect and he thought deeply about very many things. He is the creator of mind-body dualism, which came about through a combination of his thoughts about certain philosophies and his backlash against certain others. And this is how we get into the roots of mind-body dualism. Before mind-body dualism, the most common philosophy was that of scholastic Aristotelianism, which was an idea which originated with the Greek philosopher Aristotle, which thought that the mind and the body were connected into like a symbiotic relationship basically. But Descartes disliked this idea of scholastic Aristotelianism because he was a rationalist, and thus, from his fascinating life, he could produce the idea of mind-body dualism to make the idea of the body and the mind being separate work in his head. So that's how he came to that conclusion. The key feature of mind-body dualism as a philosophy is the separateness of the body and mind from each other. In mind-body dualism, the body and the mind are two separate substances that are completely divorced from each other, except for the fact that the mind has complete control over the body. It's it's separated into mind and matter. The mind completely dominates matter in mind-body dualism. In a, in a sense, the body is a sort of puppet for the mind. It's, it's basically like a zombie. The mind is puppeteering the body. And this is where we are afraid of mind over matter. Like the idea of intelligence is also a very, very sacred idea in mind-body dualism. In Descartes' philosophy, intelligence is a sort of metaphysical force that interacts, that makes the mind the mind. Is what separates it from the body. Intelligence powers the mind and it its gives it consciousness basically. Mind-body dualism was a very influential idea in European philosophy and European thought for centuries afterward. In fact, Carl Jung, one of the 20th century's greatest thinkers, openly praises and writes about mind-body dualism in a great many of his books, his essays, his various works, and it's at the root of his many theories of how the mind works, how the mind functions. So mind-body dualism was completely irreplaceable in European society as an idea. The effect the effect that mind-body dualism had on European philosophy was incalculable and it was vast. Mind-body dualism, after a few short centuries, became the dominant form of thought of how the mind worked in European philosophy, particularly Western Europe, and it influenced various philosophies of that time of how the mind worked. But there was a blowback against mind-body dualism at the time and later. Many thinkers and scientists of today reject mind-body dualism, whether on scientific grounds or philosophical ones. People such as C.S. Lewis rejected mind-body dualism because he didn't agree with the metaphysical idea of mind-body dualism due to his Christian faith, so he rejected it on religious grounds. While many modern doctors reject mind-body dualism due to the fact that the science that does not align with science particularly. The effect of mind-body dualism today. Mind-body dualism has influenced so many philosophies today that it's hard to completely explain how it works. So, like many of the things of like mind over matter is a big idea in today. The conclusion, mind-body dualism was a powerful idea that still impacts today. It just goes to show us the wildly vast intellect of Rene Descartes and how powerful this idea of mind-body dualism is, the separateness of the mind and body is to the human brain. And mind-body dualism is one of the most powerful ideas in human history, and I hope I have done a good job of explaining it.